Welcome back to the Haunted Escapes YouTube channel, or welcome if you are new here. On this episode, we sat down with Josh and Renee from Humor Haunts and Homicide. We go over Josh's experiences and Renee's and talk about all things spooky. I apologize for you having to see my ugly mug in this one. Chris looks fine, but I look hideous. So, comment, like, subscribe, share, and let's get into the episode.
Back to Haunted Escapes with Chris and Diane. So today's episode, we're going to be having some guests from another podcast called
Humor Haunts and Homicide.
And we met them a little while ago. We've had one collab with them once before. Now this is our second time, and the story they'll be telling us about today is they went down to Florida, and Josh had a few strange experiences he's going to tell us about.
And how are you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, thanks
Good
for
to see you
having
again.
us. It's good to see you.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yes, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. We're happy to be here.
So, take it away. What's some of the history behind the area, and then give us your stories, and we'll see. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you go places often?
Oh gosh, yes. So I guess I'll start since I think that I've probably had more of the ghost experiences.
For sure.
So it kind of started for me when I realized my house was haunted, and actually in this room we're recording in is pretty haunted. We used it and started off as a guest room, and we're never in here. But before we started podcasting, it was just used for a place that my family from Michigan would come once a year. So it was just empty, you know. But we had a bed and we had 2 nightstands, and then randomly I'd come in here to just clean up, make sure it wasn't dusty. We'd put a Christmas tree in here during Christmas. And then the nightstands were open, like far open. And this kind of nightstand was not just something that you had to pull lightly on. I mean, you had to pull pretty aggressively to get it out. And did I just say out? Like I was in Canada? What the hell? Sorry about that. I don't know where that came from. And I started blaming my husband. And he was like, no, it's not me. I swear I'm not the one opening this. And I thought he was just fucking with me. And he said, he just promised me. He's like, look, seriously, I'm not doing it. So that was when I kind of realized something weird was happening. Our Alexa in this room would whisper when we were in the other end of the house, and we'd hear it going, please repeat that. That was too quiet, or something like that. Whatever the fuck she said.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is weird. So we don't really know much about our house other than supposedly it was an Airbnb in the 80s when it was built. I don't know how true that is. I don't know what's happened here, who's died here when they stayed here, if somebody was sick. I don't know. I don't know what energy's here. We've done sage. We've done Palo Santo. Well, I haven't really heard anything since. So hopefully it's worked. Knock on some wood. But that was really my interest in starting, other than just being a horror fanatic and a haunting fanatic, just watching other shows and stuff growing up as a kid. But after that, I decided that I really wanted to dive a little further and stay at a haunted house, and talk my husband into staying at the Marshall House, which is arguably the most haunted hotel in America. Some people say it's the second. It's a matter of opinion based on certain statistics people put out there. Yeah, whatever. We don't know. But it is haunted. So it was opened in 1852 by Mary Marshall, who was a prominent business owner in Savannah at the time. And she opened it with the goal of really creating a hospital and a safe place for people to go when they need care. And Civil War kind of happened, and the soldiers kind of took over the hospital and made it their bed to really be housing their soldiers when they were wounded. And that kind of took precedent on making sure that they took care over the town itself. So it kind of got ransacked and overran by the army. And throughout there was 2 yellow fever epidemics. So thousands of people have been reportedly died there. They've had amputations that were done on the 4th floor, and they supposedly were done there so they can avoid the sounds being heard from the street where people would gather and travel, which is a little morbid if you think about. And back then there wasn't any amputations that could be done with anesthesia. It had to be tourniquet and swig of alcohol and hope it works. And from there in the 90s when they were doing renovations, because for a while the hotel had been through different owners and things like that, so it had been closed down for a while and it became dilapidated, and then a new owner came in and really did a renovation on it. And once that happened, they found body parts on the 4th floor by the elevators, which is creepy because who knows what they were doing, just tossing them down the basement.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know, that was weird. But that really, I mean, throughout the years and the epidemics and being a hospital that cared for all those soldiers, it has just become a hotbed for activity. And when we stayed there during Christmas time, and it was the week before Christmas this last season, it was really festive and cool and beautiful. And then we get to our rooms, and almost within like a half hour, I heard a child aggressively running through the hallway laughing. And I looked at my husband and I'm
no
like, did you hear
way.
that?
Oh, wow.
He's like, yeah. Well, we look out in the hallway later on because I heard it again. I wasn't brave enough to look the first time. The second time, there was nobody in the hallway. And then I had heard it one more time when I woke up, and it was like 1 a.m. And it was this time just footprints, no children. And
Oh, wow.
I don't know how to explain it, but the doors creak. I mean, it has the epitome of everything you can think about a creepy old hotel. The floors are uneven. The doors look like a triangle at the bottom because of the warpage that's happened over the years. There's fireplaces in the hallways when you walk through them because that's how they had to heat the establishment back then.
Yeah.
It was just a ton of different fireplaces. They've really done a really great job of keeping it rustic and original and completely centennial. Like, it's beautiful. But it's extremely haunted
really
at the same
nice.
time.
Yeah.
It does. It sounds really nice.
So the first time we went, we didn't have any EMT meters or anything, but my dad is a newly haunting enthusiast with my stepmom. He's kind of dragged her into it, just like I did my husband, and she's a little more reluctant doing it, but she's entertaining him. And he asked me, like, "Hey, what can we do that's fun?" And I suggested, "Let's go back to Savannah. I'm excited to do it." And I bought him an EMT meter or EMF meter, whatever the fuck they think. EMF. And he the whole time was having activity go on in his room, which was also the 4th floor.
Wow.
And I was having activity go on the entire. I didn't hear anything else like children screaming or laughing or anything, but you could definitely tell something was going on in that room. Every time I move it, it was just flying off the chains with activity.
Yeah, you sent me something at like 1 a.m. that night.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's on our socials, so it's on TikTok, it's on Facebook. It was only a few seconds, but it was absolutely real, and it was terrifying. But it was exciting. Like when I go in there, you feel it. You kind of feel like, what the hell's around me right now, and you just know something's there. So that's pretty much my Marshall House experience. We did end up going before the Marshall House to the St. Augustine Lighthouse. I don't know if you've heard of that.
That's somewhere we want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've both been there.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with your experience? Because you went before I did.
Yeah, so I went, I think it was probably like 2018 or something like that. And we went there during the day at first. And it's the same thing. Like, it's old and it has history, and there's the little plaques everywhere you can read about the history, which I'm like obsessed with. I'll read every little word of everything.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
Like, you just feel like something there. And they were offering, like a ghost tour at night. So we were like, let's go back and do it. So went back there at night, and it's really cool. They like take you into like the house, and they give you like this like whole history thing, and they tell you stories, like that have happened there. They, why it's haunted, all this. And I think for like, it was like $5 or $10 you could rent like the EMF thing. So we did that. And so we're, you after you do like the whole history lesson, you're allowed to just kind of walk around the house, and you can go up the lighthouse at night. You can go around like the grounds. So, I mean, there was definitely times, especially in the basement part, where the EMF thing was kind of like going crazy. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything, but you definitely feel, something.
Weird,
and I will say, I'm really not like generally like someone who's scared of heights, but being at the top of the lighthouse at nighttime, like for me during the day, it really didn't affect me, but at nighttime, and I don't know if it was because I was feeling a presence or it was uneasy, or if it's just because at night you can't see as good. But I was terrified up there at night. Like that was, I mean, I would do it again. 100%. I'll go back again. But yeah, I would definitely. And like, you didn't get to do the night tour.
No.
And since it's been so long since I've gone, like we should go back there.
Yeah, because now I did day, you did night, and now we need to do both of them together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically my experience is very similar but a little different. I went with our parents, like I mentioned, and my husband. And when we got there, we did the tour, we walked around, but immediately we got to talk to a gatekeeper that had been there for like 12 years. And I forget his name. I think it was David. I'm maybe wrong there. But he was happening to like be cleaning up trash, and he heard me talking to, I believe it was my husband and my dad, and just about going to Savannah. And he's like, "Oh, we're in Savannah." We're kind of telling him about the Marshall House, and he tells us he's been working there for like 12 years, and he goes, "I've seen some shit." I said, "Great, perfect. I need to know." And he said the most memorable experience, other than well, I'll start with the first one. There is a normal story that has been told that there was a little girl and her parents that were doing the tour of the lighthouse. And as she was traveling up to go at the very top, she couldn't move her feet because her shoelaces were tied to the stairs. Like who, and she'd have been standing there a few seconds, her parents said. She just enough to like look out the top and kind of see the top. But yeah, something had tied her shoelace to the stair itself, which is creepy for me. Goodbye. But here I went and visited it anyway,
I'll go
knowing
back.
that story. And what else did they say? Oh, the guy had been doing some painting. So he had been painting the floors. He had went out to have a lunch break. He came back into the place he went to paint. And he said it was gray flooring that he had, but there was a footprint that was like a white glow that had been on the floor.
Wow.
And they could not get that up. And they said that they were going to try to paint over it, but there was still like imprints from the paint itself being imprinted by the footprint. And there had been nobody else there. It was just him working. And he's like, that freaked me out so damn bad. He goes, I left, I came back, there was a footprint we can't get off. So that made me have some goosebumps when he told me. He was a talker, though. He kept going on and telling us about just the noises he's heard over the times he's been there. Doors will slam and open.
Wow.
Going up in the ghost tour, there's been like several different known Discovery Travel ghost hunters. They've all visited the lighthouse. It's notoriously been named one of the most haunted places in the country, not just like hotels or houses, but like overall activity.
Yeah, because like there's like children activity there too, because there was the I guess when they were building, I don't know if it was when they were building it, but there's a story with like there was little girls who drowned in the ocean.
The pity children.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there's like a lot of like child ghost kind of activity that they talk about too. So
yeah,
I highly recommend going there. It's just really cool. Even if you can't do the ghost tour, just the going there, and if you are into history at all, they have the that fort in St. Augustine, which
yes, I've been there.
I mean, I'm sure that's got activity. I don't know if you can go there at night. I never even like looked up, but I mean, I'm sure there's something going on there. But if you like learning about things, and if you're interested in like the little information plaques, like St. Augustine is a place for you, because like you could spend all day. I spent like 4 hours at the fort. I swear to God, I spent 4 hours at the fort just like reading shit.
But I will say the basement for me was the coolest part.
Yeah, that was
of the whole experience. When you go to the gatekeeper's basement.
Plus, it's just
crazy.
It's creepy, man. It's creepy.
It's creepy, and you can just see that like the brick's original. Everything
like
about
stone
that place.
A stone basement.
Who knows who's died down there? I mean, I don't know. But that place was definitely going off the chains on our meters for sure. It's down a like spiral staircase, so you almost feel like you're kind of going to fall as you go down, which is remnant to the lighthouse, because that's how the stairs are.
The lighthouse, and it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, you
218 stairs.
I don't remember the number. I mean, you were just there. I don't remember the number, but it's a lot of stairs, and it's all in a. So
yeah. Going up for me was fine because I felt like I had control of where I was looking. Going down. You have to hold on and
down it kind of
you could see through the stairs because it was all like small holes, so you almost see yourself falling. And then for me, when I got to the lighthouse on the top, reaching over to take a picture of the gatekeeper's house, I felt like I was going to fall off, but I did it because I had to get the picture, but yeah, I would absolutely do it again. I'd recommend it to any haunting enthusiast, and I absolutely have to go visit.
Yeah, we definitely want to. That's definitely one of the ones we want to go down to.
Let's talk a little bit about your podcast. What I like about your podcast is you have true crime and you have hauntings. You want to tell us how you like got started in that?
Yeah,
how the true crime part. What got you interested in doing the true crime, and
Well, true crime, I've been into true crime for a long time. I mean, honestly, since, like whenever Forensic Files like was a big thing on the old court TV, I was, and I've just been into like weird things, like honestly, like forever. My dad kind of helped that along, but I've been into it for a long time, and within the last like 5 years or so, I've like really, I mean, it's been a boom. So, and it's really just strikes a chord with me. I've listened to all like the true crime podcasts. It's like the only thing I watch on TV, it's sometimes. And so when he wanted to start a podcast, and his kind of thing was like the haunting, that's not exactly, I mean, I'm very interested in it, but not to the degree of him. So that's kind of how we were just like, well, how do we tie in both of our interests that it's still like in the same genre?
Yeah.
Like it's like makes sense to combine. Because sometimes too, they kind of really like meld into each other. I mean, you can have, I mean, obviously the true crime stuff happens and that will cause a haunting. So
yeah, for example, the Valeska axe murder house. That was a crime thing. He murdered everybody in the house, all the kids, and it's one of the most haunted places in America.
Yeah.
I think it's still unsolved, I think.
Yeah, it is.
That would be fun.
That would be fantastic.
That would be a fun one.
Yeah,
I want to go there. I want to go
Yeah.
there. It's a bed and breakfast,
Absolutely.
I think. You can stay there.
Is that the oh my gosh, Lizzie Borden? Is that the house?
That's Lizzie Borden house. Yeah, that's up in Massachusetts. My cousin went there, and he had some really weird things happen.
Oh my gosh. Well,
yeah, we want to go there
too. Fantastic. You've actually talked about maybe wanting to cover that in the future, I think.
Yes, I have, because I'm very interested in it. I'm very interested in staying there. I mean, I'm terrified to stay there. But like you would have, like if we went together.
Yeah, we'd be fine.
And we could just be terrified.
If we're going to die, we're going to die together. Right? No one's died yet. But if we're going to, it's better to be together, right? Better than alone forever for eternity. But I have to stand you for eternity. That's what sucks. I can do it. I think I can do it. I can do it. It'd be cool, I think. Maybe.
Maybe.
For me, the podcast, I had kind of really loved the horror genre as a kid. I watched a ton of horror movies. I really fell in love with the O.J. Simpson trial as a kid. It really, I was growing up to a place where I could understand it, or at least enough to be interested in what was going on, but not fully understand all the details, So as I kind of grew through that process, and came Casey Anthony and all the high profile cases. So I just always had a niche for the things that people would think are weird, creepy, and ooh, we don't talk about that. And I'm not afraid to talk about it and to explore it and to figure out what's on the other side of that, and to play devil's advocate on both sides of that too, and understand other people's viewpoints of that, and to talk about it and theorize. But I always thought, let's start a freaking podcast. Why not? Yeah. And when I wanted to do it, I wanted to do true crime, but I thought it was oversaturated. I just thought that.
Yeah, and that's what we were thinking. Like, true crime alone is, I mean, there's so much of it. So it was like, how do we, do something different? I mean, and it was mostly him, I'm not going to lie. He did kind of have to
I had to push the idea.
Yeah.
Because I think in the initial beginning, and maybe you guys can speak to this too, but we had the high pressure of ourselves to be successful immediately, or to go
or to be perfect.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, well, I fumbled a word. Let's scrap that and edit it. And then we realized that part of, especially the humor part, is sometimes you're gonna fuck up, and then
and being real about it,
and then we kind of make fun of each other sometimes too. So and it's made it so much more enjoyable because
our pressure's gone.
Our first few episodes, it was a lot of pressure. Like, we felt like the pressure to be perfect, but so it's been just kind of just let it. We just do our thing, and also just have the mindset of we're doing this mostly for us. And if, people there's going to be people who think we're great, and that's great. And there's going to be people who don't like us. And if you don't like us, that's fine.
You don't have to listen.
I don't like everything I ever see. So, I mean, I don't like everything I ever see. So, I mean, if you just like go into it with that mindset, it's been a lot
easier to go through the process of not judging yourself and having the expectation of success. And ultimately, if you're having fun, that's why we keep doing it. And I think moments like these and talking about things like this keep our passion for why we're doing this alive. And I don't want to stop doing it. And if we ever do one day want to take a break, we decide, our format is kind of a 10-season long, just so people, if they're going to listen to us, understand. We invite guest episodes, as we call them, like this, with you guys, as we did before. And we like to do one episode a week. We're going to start releasing them on Tuesdays. It previously was Fridays. And we're doing them at midnight. Statistics say that viewers love Tuesdays to get their podcast. I don't know why that's today, but we're trying it out. But ultimately, we're here to just provide some fun and some excitement and a little bit of mystery.
What do you guys got coming up? Do you have plans of going anywhere in the future? Do you have some exciting episodes coming up or anything like that?
Well, we are just coming off of our break. We took a month off, so we're actually this week we'll be releasing episode 1 of season 2. Okay. As far as do we have plans to travel? I mean, not any immediate plans, but I would love to.
I would say the Maystringer house is, because we almost had it booked. We almost had that tour booked.
Yeah, there is a house there's a haunted house kind of where we're only about 30 minutes away from it.
I covered it on one of our episodes, and we actually did a tour there. She had went there prior to me doing the episode. She got me kind of wanting to do it, inspired my story. Okay. Together, including my husband, we went and did the tour of the house, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, so they offer ghost tours, so we're going to do that at some point. But they get kind of booked up, so we have to wait a couple months, I think, to do it. But the tour itself was really cool, like just to learn the history of the house, and I'm really excited to go back and like do the night one, because there's places like there's like an attic that supposedly has a bunch of activity.
The Maystringer house?
Oh, yeah, it's in Brooksville, Florida.
Okay.
It's MAY-Stringer.
Maystringer. Okay.
Yeah, there was like 2 different families that
lived there. They combined the name. So
I had initially gone there because they do every Halloween, they do a haunted house there.
Oh, cool.
So I heard about it, and so I took the kids, and it was really cool. I mean, obviously I didn't feel like there was hauntings because there's like so many people there, but that's how kind of like I'm walking through this house and I'm like, this house is
creepy as shit.
And it's amazing too. Feeling, it's just there's so many I mean, a lot of the most of the furniture is not original to the house, but like the peeling wallpaper and the like the structure of the house itself is all original, and it's just got like a creepy
roof
vibe.
Tiles are falling off when you walk in there.
Dilapidated shingles, but it's like one of those like really, it's like a 3-story, 2 or 3-story. Right. There's the attic, with like the wraparound porch, like just that gorgeous architecture. I love it.
Yeah, and another thing about that too is the people that live there are actually buried there. Yeah. In the back of the yard, and ultimately, when you go there, you can see the gravestones and the headstones in the backyard.
Of the people that was a little, unnerving, but awesome.
Yeah, and we posted some pictures of that on our socials as well. The whole tour itself was fantastic. The doctor who had actually lived there and added some additions onto the house that when he lived there, he had treated patients out of his home, and as you're a doctor, and as medicine wasn't really advanced back then, you probably had patients die in your home.
That. I mean, he was doing surgeries and stuff. So I mean, that.
Yeah. So that's who is said to haunt the place, including the people that have lived there. His wife, him, and their children.
Oh yeah, there's like a 3-year-old, that passed, and she's supposed to. There's supposed to be a lot of activity with her.
Yeah.
There, so. But also like in our area within, I would say within an hour north and south, there's a lot of towns that offer ghost tour things at night. And you can some of them are like guided, but you can actually, there's a lot of podcasts. I don't know, I haven't told you this much. I've been doing some research.
Oh, okay.
But there's some like podcasts that you can kind of like do like follow along type things. So, like for one example is Ebor. So there's like a podcast where like you listen to the podcast while you walk around, so it's self-guided, you know, and I think other places do it as well. I just happen to see that one. So I want to do stuff like, so even if we don't have like excursions planned like far, I want to do stuff like that. The two of us. So surprise. I'm like surprising you right now. That's where
is it a date?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You know,
I'm down.
So yeah, that would be cool. Like to see if we need to bring the EMF. I did one walking around tour one time, like a long time ago in Ybor. So, and it was like, podcasts were just starting out. Now they have like way cooler ones, but obviously I didn't, like, I wasn't really, not that I wasn't into hauntings, but I wasn't like where I'm at now. So I would like to bring the little meter thing when we do that.
Oh yeah.
But I like the idea of doing it self-guided too. I don't know, like this.
I think that our self-guided would be better, because when I'm going on an experience, I don't know how you two do yours, but I like to do a lot of pictures, especially now that we're podcasting and social media people. But I'm not also getting the full experience because I'm not worried about learning. I'm worried about snapping.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for me because I want to learn.
Yeah, so a self-guided might be good for us because you can pause it, you can go back, you know.
Yeah, that'd be
If I'm on
great.
a tour guide, I'm like pressured to have to listen, and I feel like I'm being rude to them.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to be a social hound.
Yeah,
you know.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. When we went to Cold Spring Village and we went on one of their tours, it was kind of like that. The tour guide's going around telling you all the stories, but I'm busy trying to snap pictures, seeing if I can catch things, and then so we wound up. I was taking pictures, and she was paying attention to the stories, so she could catch me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, we could do that.
Oh yeah, we sure could. But I will say that another just haunting experience, and nothing else planned to go to other than the local stuff. That I guess now that I realize we have a lot of stuff locally that are haunted here. But definitely, I mean, going back to Savannah is not out of the realm for me. I mean, we're only about 5 hours, 4.5 hours from here.
It's not
and
far.
Every time we go there, we do something different and see something different, even if we thought we've seen it before.
Well, and St. Augustine is like 3.5 hours from us, so we're not
you
far.
Got all the old plantations and stuff down around there.
I would.
So many stories about them. I would love to go on a tour of old plantations and just.
Yeah, I would definitely want to do stuff like that too. There's like so many plans, like in the back of my mind, so many.
And we can do them. We just need to get our ass off the couch and do it.
I'll have a lot of free time this summer.
That's right. That's right. And you asked about our ghost belief. Yeah, I 100% believe in ghosts. I think now more than ever. I was always maybe a little skeptical because I'm not super religious, just personally on that side. And, you know, I've always kind of battled with the idea of like Holy Ghost. Is it a ghost? Is it a thing? Is it not? Because I did grow up in a religious background as a child, but now that I'm a little more, I guess in my adult wise stages, I'm a little more practical, and I understand that things are not explained and we can't have answers for everything. And that reason alone is enough for me to go, the possibilities there. And now that I've heard it and explained it, and Dylan's got the mark of the beast on his neck when we went to Marshall House, and the things I've heard and our house being haunted, I think I have enough evidence to say that there is some shit on the other side.
Yeah. I actually have like one personal, I only have one like real personal experience that I feel was a ghost. And it was back in, it was probably 2006, probably. And I was staying at my aunt and uncle's house in Chicago. And my husband at the time and I were laying in bed, reading or whatever. And I all of a sudden felt like a scratch on my back. All of a sudden, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really weird. And I said something, and, you know, he looked at it and he's like, it's weird. You have a scratch on your back. Like he said, like, it kind of looked like if you took like a push pin and just that. So it was just like real thin and raised. And we tore that bed apart because we were like, maybe it's like a feather pillow. So, I mean, you know, we were looking at the pillows, the comforter, every little thing we could think of. And we couldn't find any reason, you know, there was no bug, there was nothing. And, I just kind of like pushed it off. I'm like, whatever. And the next day I mentioned to my uncle, hey, this is where this happened. And he was like, funny you say that. And I'm like, what do you mean funny I say that? And my uncle told me that he was like the most skeptical person on the planet. Like he doesn't believe in any of that. Well, my aunt, I never say that word. Aunt, I've never said that word.
That was very formal of you.
I know.
British.
Right?
My aunt's mother had actually, at the like end of her life, had stayed in that bedroom. And he said that she didn't actually die in the bedroom, but that was kind of like where she was dying. And he said one night he was sitting on the couch and he looks to the corner of his eye and there was an orb. And he was like, I've never seen anything like it in my life. And he said he's never seen anything like it since, but he said it would like floated up their little stairs and went down the hall into that bedroom.
Fuck no.
And he was like,
oh no.
And he was like, I'm the most skeptical person that you can imagine. So at that point I was like, I've been ghost scratched. Like, you know, I mean, there was literally no other. And like I said, at that time, I was very much a skeptical person. I was not, you know, and we tore that. There was no other explanation. I'm 100% convinced. And then when my uncle told me that, and I was like, well, damn. So I don't know, like maybe the lady was like, what are you doing in my bedroom? Like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think.
But that's like my only like personal like ghost.
But still,
experience.
that's pretty cool.
Well, I know. I mean, you know,
I've never been scratched or anything before, so got one on me.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You're like, bring it on, give it to me.
Yeah, right. It's like, go on.
Gosh, but for like true crime, you know, I had a personal experience with almost being murdered. I guess if you're interested to hear that quickly, there was a guy that when I lived in Dunedin, Florida, I had moved from Michigan and I had been there maybe about a year at this point. I was with some friends at a pool and this guy would always circle our apartment complex and he was always like mumbling to himself. So it was always like under his breath and he was always like kind of like tweaking out a little bit. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's a little weird. But then one day we're at the pool, like I had mentioned, and we're sitting there. I look across. We had this little clubhouse where you could sip, and then there was like bathrooms, and you can change in your bathing suit. And he's looking directly at me, dead on like in my eyes, and I can hear him go, "Fuck him up, cut him up," over and over and over. Fuck him up, cut him up. Fuck him up, cut him up. Fuck him up, cut him up.
Nice.
And I'm drunk. And at the time when I was drinking, it was tequila. I've since realized that it makes me a little mean. So I was ready to go fight this guy. And my friends were like, no, you're drunk. You're stupid. Don't do that. And I'm like, eventually they talked me out of it. But then about 2 to 3 weeks later happened to go by. And there's CSI and FBI vans at his apartment. And I get to a news article, which happened to get sent to me by a neighbor of ours. He had killed his sister and ran to Georgia with the intent of somehow making it to Mexico. I don't know why Georgia was the final stop, but he was completely schizophrenic and he killed her because she wanted him to stop drinking and doing drugs. And he had refused. He wanted to go out and party that night. So he killed her. I think it was 12 times. He stabbed her in the head and her skull. The knife was completely bent when the cops showed up to find the evidence.
Yeah. So imagine if like this dummy had actually tried to engage with this crazy man.
I probably would have been murdered.
Yeah, it's like, you know.
Yeah, so it goes to show you, like, sometimes speaking up for yourself is correct, but you can also read the room and realize that, like, if crazy's crazy, you don't want to go mess with crazy.
No,
absolutely right.
Yeah, so I would say that I definitely skied to death on that one.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So all those experiences really inspired our podcast.
Yeah. That's crazy,
funny,
man.
Yeah, it is. It's been a wild ride for sure.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for coming on and doing this whole interview and telling us all your stories. It was great.
Absolutely.
Sorry you were almost
really fun
murdered.
time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Thank you for having us again. It's been a blast, and
Yeah.
Oh,
to
absolutely.
share these stories with you, and hope to collab again in the future, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was some crazy stories. So thank you once again to our guests, Josh and Renee from
Humor Haunts and Homicide.
They had some great stories. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
Yeah, they were some really, really crazy stories. Especially the one at the end. Josh was almost a true crime episode.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And now for a snippet from our new podcast, Candlelit Stories, coming out this summer.
Welcome to Candlelit Stories, a new podcast brought to you by Pen Epic Productions, producers of Haunted Escapes with Chris and Diane. In this podcast, we will take you on journeys into strange worlds. You will meet many different characters and join them in their stories. This podcast will be made up of short stories, many will be new and original works. Some will be old classics, and we hope all of them will be enjoyed. My name is Jim Hubmaster, and I will be your guide. So please sit back, relax, and let's begin.
So that was the intro to our new podcast, Candlelit Stories, which will be coming out in a few months, the summer of 2024. I hope that all our listeners will stick around and listen to that when we start it. It was fun to make, and I hope you have fun listening to it. Thank you again.
We now have a Buy Me a Coffee, so if you would like to support us in the podcast, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/haunted escapes. Support us there, and thank you in advance for that. And also follow us on all of our socials, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok and Instagram. Also check out our website. It's penepicproductions.wixsite.com/haunted.
Yes, and we have links there to any kind of merchandise if anybody feels like buying some. Thank you again. So overall, thank you once again for joining us on our Haunted Escapes. Goodbye until next time.
Bye.